Good afternoon, everyone. We just wanted to take a couple of moments this afternoon and turn that down. And speak to all of you just as a follow-up to the congressional hearing or the House of Representatives hearing that LUMA was invited to, and we subsequently appeared in back on October the 6th. There was we were in the hearing for a little over 3 hours, and there were quite a large number of witnesses and a large number of committee members, and in the end of the day, they had run out of time, and so they'd followed up with a number of additional questions that they provided for LUMA, and LUMA's just responding to those questions later this evening. I wanted to, to reiterate some of the language or the words that we used in the committee on the 6th of October. So, we want to thank the committee members for their time and their dedication to this important topic. As we've described to all of you, we're here to be a transparent and accountable partner as we deliver better customer service, greater emergency preparedness, and a safer and more effective workforce to support the overall economic recovery for Puerto Rico. We're not here for the short term. We are absolutely here for the long term. So there were many, discussions during the committee hearing on the 6th. And as I said, there were some additional questions brought forward by Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez, Katie Porter, and Resident Commissioner Jennifer Gonzalez, as they were inquiring about status of federal funds management, the status of our projects for electricity transmission and distribution rebuilding. There was some discussion about the generation shortfalls that we had been seeing in late August and September, our labor agreements, and compatibility with our plans and renewable energy. And so we'll be providing that fulsome response later this evening. And really, that was my opening remarks. At this point, I'm happy to take questions from anyone.
Compañeros, ¿me escuchan, verdad?
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta.
En estos momentos, si alguien desea hacer una pregunta, puede levantar la mano en el icon o en el símbolo que se ve que está en el tope de la pantalla. Tenemos a José Alvarado.
Yes, good
Adelante,
afternoon.
José.
Yes. The House of Representatives filed what's it called?
José, tienes que quitarte tú mismo el mute del micrófono.
Espera.
Verifica en la parte de arriba que no estés en mute.
Okay. Can you hear me now? ¿Pueden escuchar? Hello?
Sí, se escucha.
José.
Okay. The House of
Bueno,
Representatives,
entonces con Adriana. A ver si Adriana nos escucha. Adelante, Adriana.
Yo estaba escuchando a José. Él estaba hablando ahora mismo.
Okay. The Puerto Rico House of Representatives filed a contempt of court action yesterday. How are you going to respond to that?
Denos un minutito ahora porque tenemos un problemita aquí tecnológico. Ok, ahora me escuchan, vamos.
Okay. Can you hear me now? ¿Me pueden escuchar?
Vamos a tratar nuevamente con José. José Alvarado.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yo no lo escucho.
Okay. Hello? Okay. Now can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you, Jose.
Oh, hi,
Yo lo
Kevin.
puedo hacer.
Yes, we can.
Ay,
Okay,
disculpen los problemas técnicos que estamos teniendo. José, ¿tú puedes tratar de quitarte tú mismo el mute?
no, está quitado.
Sí, todos le escuchamos a José, creo que menos ustedes.
Sí.
Okay,
Yo lo escucho.
okay. Okay, yesterday, the Puerto Rico House of Representatives, they filed a contempt of court motion in the San Juan Superior Court. And for the information that LUMA was supposed to. Ajá.
Aquí.
Bien.
Es que mira, estos dos micrófonos me aparecen abiertos.
Sí, José.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello? I guess everybody else hears me, but I guess.
Ok, estamos ahora, ¿verdad? Estamos con José Alvarado. José, tu pregunta.
Yes, okay. Luis Raúl, Representative Luis Raúl Torres, he's the chairman of the House Committee investigating LUMA. He filed, I think it was yesterday, a motion in court, a contempt of, I think it was a contempt of court motion to have LUMA respond to the information request that the committee has made, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically upheld. How is LUMA responding to that?
Yeah, so
Hello?
sorry. I want to be very clear that we're not mixing two topics. So my opening remarks were related to the U.S. House of Representatives hearing that we were participating in. With respect to your question and the Luis Raúl matter under the inquiry that he led here, that that is a matter of outstanding litigation, and so I'm not going to get into great detail, but what I can confirm is the matter is back with the court of first instance, and we will be making our arguments to that court in due course.
Okay. All right, thank you.
José,
Hello.
Nuevo día.
Sí, hola, José Delgado. Yes, Mr. Stensby, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can you explain first what you are providing the committee today? What information you are complying to, and how you explain that you are, if you are providing them all the information that they request, why to that committee and not to the Puerto Rican legislature?
Yeah, I absolutely I can. I think it's very important that that we understand the differences. So the Committee on Natural Resources in the U.S. House of Representatives questions were, broadly oriented around LUMA's role in the transformation, broadly oriented around the FEMA funding projects that are underway and that we are advancing. There was quite a discussion about the generation shortfalls, and we were able to clear some of those matters up. And so questions really are oriented around the performance of the transformation and LUMA's role in the transformation. I think, as we've said earlier, the particular inquiry that Luis Raúl was and continues to lead here in Puerto Rico, I mean, it's clearly has a different intent. It clearly has an intent to stand in front of the transformation, to stop the transformation in any way possible. He has said that publicly. And I would say I would put that inquiry in the category of those that are they're really against moving forward with the PREPA transformation. So I see these two events and these two committees as very different topics, very different agendas that they're pursuing.
But why the agenda will mean anything at this moment? We are looking about public information. No, the company receive public funds. That's why the U.S. House is interested in the issue. At the same time, no matter what are their intentions, is the same reason why the Puerto Rican legislature are asking for information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, and we'll provide relevant information to anyone. One of the things we won't do, though, is go beyond personal requirements for our employees, and the long list of harassments and other tactics that were taken against LUMA employees. We take that very seriously, and so we don't intend to provide personal information and employee information for those reasons, and that was much of what we got into in the inquiry here.
Ok, vamos ahora con Osman. Osman,
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you very much.
pregunta tu turno, por favor. Le quiero recordar a los compañeros de la prensa, no tenemos mucho tiempo. Esta conferencia le queda a lo sumo 15 a 20 minutos, cuidado si menos. Así que por favor, aténganse a una preguntita, por favor, les pido encarecidamente por medio. Adelante, Osman.
Let me ask you, when you two covered the transmission distribution systems, part of your promise was to make it better, to transform it, and the question I have, because what we have seen today, the falls short of those expectations you yourself created when you announced LUMA taking over, and what's in blackouts and so on. But I wanted to ask you, what can you tell what has been done to make the system better? Have you installed anything new? Have you transformed? What has been done so far to make it system better that we can tell the people, at least this is done to make it things better, please?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. And the context, of course, that we all understand is the system is in a very challenging and fragile state. We've been at this now for a little over 4 months, and there are some meaningful improvements that are being made each and every day, such as, and I think that's what you were asking for, some examples. We are connecting rooftop solar and net metering installations at 7 times the rate that PREPA was when we first began. And at that rate, we should have completely worked through a very large backlog by the end of the year. So I think that's, item number 1. Item number 2, we've changed 3 times as many distribution poles in this first 4 months as PREPA had in the same period last year. So as our crews are out there making repairs, restoring outages, we're also starting to make a difference in the infrastructure that over time will reduce the outages. We've put a number of substations back into service, some of which hadn't been in service for a very, very long time. For those of you that were following, we were in Culebra last Friday, and we energized a substation and connected 100 families that had been without electricity for, I don't know, more than 10 years, 20 years. And so there's examples like that all across Puerto Rico where we are making meaningful differences. And now I don't mean to suggest this will be a long journey, but step by step, week by week, we are making large improvements. We're putting elements back into service in the T&D system that's been out of service literally for years. And one by one, all of those make improvements. In the meantime, we're advancing these projects through FEMA. When we came into operation back in June, there was literally one project in the FEMA pipeline that had begun preliminary engineering. And as we sit here today, we have this very large pipeline of projects, and engineering companies are busy carrying out preliminary engineering. So all of that, of course, will take a number of months, in some cases years, but the work is progressing.
Muchas gracias, Román, por tu pregunta. Estamos con Jesús Delgado.
José Delgado.
José Delgado. Sí. Adelante, José. José Delgado.
Me da de nuevo, okay. I still don't know, Mr. Stenby, what information you are providing to the Natural Resources Committee.
I guess as I outlined maybe at the beginning, but we provided additional details around LUMA's role in the load shedding events that had occurred in late August and into September. Provided information regarding the federal funds management contracts that are in place. We provided additional information regarding the status of this large number of projects that are now moving through the approval phase with FEMA. And we provided some additional information on our labor agreements. And then the last point was there were a number of questions about the compatibility of LUMA's plans and the grid with renewable energy. And we reaffirmed our commitment to renewable energy. And we spoke in some detail about how LUMA's plans for a better, stronger, more resilient grid will support community and distributed energy resources.
Gracias, José.
So
Vamos a pasar ahora con Adriana. Adelante, Adriana.
yeah, so Mr. Stensby, just to be clear, you're ignoring completely the position of the U.S. Congress Natural Resources Committee to hand in information regarding positions and salaries in the company, and you are handing in this other information that you just mentioned.
No, to be super clear, we're answering the questions, the additional questions for which Congress men and women had run out of time during the hearing today, and then there'll be a subsequent response to the subsequent questions that they posed, and that response is going in Friday, and we will indeed provide a fulsome response to their questions.
Gracias, Adriana. Vamos a pasar con Jim.
Yes, Mr. Stensby, thank you very much. Just following up on Adriana's question, just to make sure that we're clear, because I know that the issue of salaries and the issue of exactly the number of people and the way they're spread out through LUMA has been kind of an issue. Will you be providing that information to the committee?
Yes, we will. We will provide the details that the committee asked for. We will not be providing personal information, but yes, we will provide the information the committee has requested.
And so there is not a single question in that list that was sent by the committee that you think of as privileged information that you feel like LUMA has the right not to answer.
Well, I think the only thing that falls into that category is private information regarding our employees. And as I mentioned several times in this conversation, we put employee privacy, like every employer does, at the forefront of what we do, and we will continue to do that. We're not going to divulge personal information regarding our employees.
Gracias, Jim. Tengo entendido que Adriana tiene otra pregunta. Adelante, Adriana. Quizás nos quedan unos 5 minutos más. Adelante, Adriana.
Yeah, I just want to clarify then, what do you consider private information, and how do you make that distinction, and also why you will hand in that information to U.S. Congress and not to Puerto Rico's local Congress?
Well, I just I guess I want to clarify because I think you're twisting the actual situation is that the inquiries led by Luis Raul asked some very different questions in some very different ways, and so we are separating these two issues. I'm not going to give you the legal description of employees' private information. But I guess, you're able to work it out as well as anyone else. we're not going to provide details, personal details and personal employment details for our employees. And you wouldn't expect your employer to do any different.
Gracias, Adriana, por tu pregunta. Tengo entendido que Osman tiene la mano todavía arriba. Adelante, Osman, ¿tú tienes una pregunta?
Well, actually, yeah, but I wanted to know if other than beyond these inquiries, again, other than the Culebra project, can you mention substations, other places that you are actually doing improvement other than the Culebra project? Specifically, please, if you can mention the places.
Yeah, I guess I answered a couple of them, but frankly, all across Puerto Rico. The net metering accounts are in every corner of every community in Puerto Rico. We've connected more than 60 large new customers since we took over. We've repaired a large number of high priority distribution feeder breakers in a variety of substations. We repaired and re-energized 4 substations.
Can you mention those substations? Where
Distribution poles in frankly every community, as well as transmission structures. So, it isn't that there's any one large substation rebuilding project. These are effectively elements of the transmission and distribution system that have been broken or in a state of disrepair for a long time, and we're slowly putting them bit by bit back into service.
Bien, vamos a coger ahora, gracias Adriana, la última pregunta y es de José Delgado. Adelante, José.
Yes, I want to be clear, Mr. Stensby. One of the question or information that the committee is asking is this one. I'm going to read. Documents sufficient to show the compensation packages for and titles of LUMA employees for whom total compensation exceeds $200,000. You are going to comply with those documents? You are going to submit that information to the Natural Resources Committee?
We're going to provide an answer to their question. Yes.
Okay.
Gracias, José. Compañeros, les recuerdo que una vez ya hemos culminado esta conferencia de prensa, les recuerdo que van a recibir todos ustedes los comunicados de prensa o los press releases, ¿verdad? Tanto en inglés como en español, referente a la conferencia de prensa que acabamos de tener. Gracias por conectarse con nosotros. Será hasta la próxima.